Hi and welcome to May 2021 Patreon rewards video. This month I started doing my comic again, so I'm going to really quickly start talking about each one of this month's rewards and what I did, just so that I don't take up too much time. So, beginning here with the first page, so I managed to tighten down page 1 or panel 1. This really should be a panel, but it's panel 1 and 2 of here we have panel 3. So I started really tightening all these things down, panel 4, and then finally panel 5. This panel is the one that I'm least looking to doing. There's a lot going on, especially here in the back, that I am not looking forward to doing. It's going to be kind of complicated. We'll have a character kind of trying to pull away from two other characters, and it's going to be pretty tricky for me to find a good way to make it all read. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to doing that bit. But this is how far I've gotten so far. So it's getting there little by little. It's getting closer to the lighting and coloring stages. I have to admit, this is the first comic strip that I've done for these that I've been doing for myself here. That it's bugging me. It was there's something about the difficulties doing this comic that made me go, I'm not having as much fun as I would like. Okay, so these are just the drawings that I did demos for heads this month. All right, so let me talk about some of the other things that I was doing this month. So in my attempt to start doing some other the other type of artwork that that I wanted to do, I started experimenting with the oil paint brush on Clipstudio paint. So I've been studying oil painting. I've been looking at a lot of oil painters do oil painting and talk about oil painting, and I've been seriously considering doing traditional oil painting. And I have the oil paints. I've had them for years. The problem is that oil painting is a pain in the neck to set up. So like if I was to do oil painting, I would have to move my cars from the garage, open the garage, set up a paint stand there or some way to paint there, and then bring out the paints. I have to get the solvents, which I've got right here, and then do a painting in the garage with the garage door open. I don't have a good, because of the fumes of the paint thinner, and stuff like that, like, and how long it takes to dry. So yeah, so there's a lot to oil painting that's kind of a barrier to entry. So in order to simplify it for myself and still try to attempt to get some semblance of oil painting, I decided to open Clipstudio Paint and do some portraits using only the oil painting simulator. And I've had the biggest issue, like I've had a lot of problems with that brush, that oil painting brush, because it just felt so unwieldy. It felt so I'm completely out of my league. I'm completely out of control with it. It's out of my comfort zone. It doesn't function the way I want it to function. In other words, it functions a little bit more like oil paint actually does. So that's good. So I decided I'm going to give that a try. So this is my very first attempt at doing the oil paint simulator in Clipstudio Paint, and I was just doing a one one not value, but one. It wasn't in color. A, a single. I forgot what it's called, but anyway, it's just gonna be. It's just a value study. Uh, Without any real color. I mean, I use kind of like this umber kind of thing, but it's really just a value study. And I was just trying to get used to the way that I could put paint down and finesse it, and try to blend it, and also process, like what's the process, because it's really opaque. And how do you do this opaque and things like that. So this is my first attempt. I'm not happy with it, but this is what happened. This is what came. It was a learning process. One of the things that I also did at first, like this is kind of like the first attempt. If you're a patron, if you're a silver level patron, I'm gonna give you the PSD file. You're going to see that there's another version of this painting, and so there's two. And here's the difference. The first version of the painting, I went in and started just kind of without any drawing underneath. I started just painting, and it came out kind of out of control. So I decided that I would redo it, but this time around I was going to do a slightly more controlled line drawing underneath, and then I would just paint completely over it. So it isn't a different layer, but I painted over it completely, as if I did a pencil sketch on the canvas before I painted anything, and then I just covered it up. So that was the idea, and this definitely came out a little bit better than the first pass. But I learned a lot about controlling the paint, but it's not enough. Now, by the way, I did use one other brush. It's called the watercolor blur brush, or the watercolor. It's a blurring brush. It's a blending brush. And based on what I've seen, how oil paint works, it kind of simulates the way that you really softly blend with the oil with the brush. So instead of forcing this particular digital brush to work as if I was just finessing, I mean, you can't get necessarily a one-to-one. So I did use kind of like a blurring brush, watercolor blurring brush in here to get some of the softer edges, some of the blending to work a little bit better. But 99% of this painting, even some of the blending, was done with the oil brush in Clipstudio Paint. And that oil brush is actually modified. I added a texture just so it made it feel a little bit more organic, but you can't really tell. You can't really see it there. But anyway, this is the oil flat brush is what I was using. So this was my second attempt, and I think it came out a lot better. And I did kind of I did a pencil sketch underneath it, and then I did the painting, and I followed the process that I know works, and how I was taught oil painting, because I did take an oil painting class. I was just kind of I was using this kind of method in combination with the oil paint. As you can tell, there's a lot less of the watercolor blender brush. I blended mostly with the oil brush this time around, so you could actually see a little bit more of the transitions, and it's a little bit more. You can see that it's a little bit more layered in the transitions, and it's not as smooth. but I started kind of getting the hang of it a little bit more here. And then finally I did this one, which turned out okay. But the big discovery, and you can see that there's like a pencil line that down here. You can see there's pencil line here. But the big discovery in here, like the big jump in understanding that happened in this one, is that because I'm using the oil brush simulator, and because it feels so much like an oil brush. If you notice over here on the right hand corner, I stopped. I usually use the palette picker, the color picker in the program. I didn't do it. I kind of closed those things. I picked a palette, I put it on the corner of the canvas over here, and then I mixed the colors on the actual canvas, and then I color picked from here, having mixed. Because one of the things that's important, especially when you're painting traditionally, is mixing your own colors and having control over the mixing process and seeing how things mix and stuff. So the oil paint brush in the Clipstudio Paint works so much like an actual brush that like actual oil paints, that you can mix within, but it's limited. It's limited. There is some limitations to the oil mix, to the paint mixing, but as I discover later, but especially if you're just doing like when you're not doing color, and all you're doing is a value study like this, it helps a little bit more. Now, again, I don't know if I'm doing a great job or not, but I learned a lot, and then I said, okay, I've done these 3 studies. They basically took me like half a day to do each, and sometimes I think it took about half a day, about 4 or 5 hours. So, and the time passed by really, really fast. I'm not used to painting anything or doing anything for that long on a single thing other than a comic, because I'm used to just doing like, quick kind of roughs. So that was interesting. Okay, so and then moving on, I went into color, and notice I did the same thing here where I picked my colors. And in this particular one, I think I picked I mixed all my colors here. So I think it was just this white, black, the burnt umber, the red here, and the yellow. I think, and this red here. I think those were the colors. Excuse me. And then I have some blue. I think these 2 blues here. So it's actually a little bit more colors than I intend. But so I started doing this color thing. So this was an interesting experiment for me, because I'm used to not going straight to color. I'm used to painting, doing a value pass first, and then I add color digitally. I add color after I do the value, and then I start playing with the colors that way. But going straight to color, okay, this, boom, let me mix the color and then put it down. Mix the color, put it down. That was extremely difficult for me to do. Like it was difficult. I don't know how successful I was with doing that. I don't know if this is just too. I think what I learned here on this one is that I'm too saturated. when my colors are way too saturated, too colorful, too bright. I think I need to mute my colors more when I do color paintings. So that was my takeaway, was this is way too bright. So I did this painting and I went out of my way to not make my colors bright. I went out of my way to gray my colors as much as possible. Also, I limited my palette to 4 colors: black, this red here, white, and no, black, white, umber, and that maybe this red, and then everything else I mixed. I didn't put blue. I didn't even get a blue. I color picked a blue here, and I kind of put in here a blue, but after the fact. But there is no blue. I used black as blue. So I was doing the Zorn palette. I was trying as best as I can to use the Zorn palette, because the Zorn palette is supposed to be very good for flesh tones, and because it's so limited, it tends to harmonize better. And but my goal doing this painting was to try to mute my colors so that they weren't so bright, and I think I succeeded, but I don't know how successful this painting actually is, to be honest. It looks fake. It doesn't look. I was going for, like, you know, something more realistic. I don't know how to push it any more than this. So I've kind of hit a bit of a wall as far as super realistic looking. This was just an experiment. This was the Benedict cross. I'm kind of doing a modified version of it, and we'll see how this turns out. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with it yet. All right, so this is this month's postcard, continuing my experimentation. So I did this because the last one I felt so happy with. I decided to try to duplicate the style, and just doing do a value version of it, like the last one. Don't do anything. Do something very minimalist. I went into this and it was a panic. It was really difficult to do. So I'm glad it turned out as well as it did, because doing it was actually far more difficult than I expected. Oh, and the winner of this month's postcard is Eric Prestaman. Eric, I think you've won like 5 times already, or 6 times, for crying out loud. I don't know how many times, but here you go. Congratulations on yet another postcard for you. More experimentations here. This is the Sacred Heart. So so this is the Sacred Heart, right? It's got the crown of thorns across and fire. But this here is me. I went online to find a shape for this heart that would work. So I went online and looked at actual hearts. So this is my sketches from looking at real hearts. So yeah, like I was just drawing hearts so I could kind of do this. This is from the videos where I'm doing figure drawings, and that is this month's stuff. So yeah, that's what you're gonna get for this month, and that's the story behind it. So the oil paintings, they really took quite a bit of time, and I learned a whole lot from doing the oil paintings. These head studies are very helpful. So I think this probably is my most successful painting so far that I did. I didn't paint the rest of this. I just focused on the head. But I still need to work on color a little bit more. So I'll keep working on all that stuff moving forward. But that's my artwork for this month. I hope you like it. You can study, especially silver patrons. You can study the layers and see what I did. Oh, and that's the other thing that I did. And you'll notice that if you open the PSD file, that there's only like 2 or 3 layers in the oil paintings. Usually when I do any kind of digital painting, there's a ton of layers. This time around, I specifically said, okay, this is the paint layer, and then that's it. And I'm not gonna add any more layers at all. It's gonna all be as if it was a traditional painting. And if I mess something up, I have to fix it on that layer. There's no takebacks, that sort of thing. So, yes, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being supporting me. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you next time. All right, bye.